원적사 today on Saturday. Nice sunny day. You could be out.
So today I'm going to talk about what is Zen, what is meditation, what is Buddhism. Okay, so one thing, someone was asking me a little while ago if I feel coming into New Jersey, where I was raised Catholic, if it feels strange to come back here and teach Buddhism. But actually, Buddhist practice is not something about learning. It's not a question of something you learn. Buddhist teachings are not something you learn as much as something you use to see your true self. You know, so some of us wear glasses in the room. Some of us, we wear a pair of glasses, right? When you wear your glasses, you don't study the glasses. You're wearing the glasses, but you look through your glasses in order to see this world more clearly. When you're wearing the glasses, you aren't studying the glasses. In fact, if they're really good glasses, you don't even see the glasses. Square shape, round shape, octagon shape, rectangular shape, triangle shape. The shape of the glasses is not the quality of the glasses that helps you see. It's the quality of the lens. The quality of the lens sharpens your vision to see this world clearly as it is. So that's the point also of Buddhist teaching. That is the point of Zen. You know, Zen just means meditation. It just means meditation. Okay? Meditation means looking into my true self. What am I? What am I? So every one of us was born in this world at some point. No one sent me when I was born in New Jersey, in Rahway. How many people here know where Rahway is? Not many. Good, let's keep it a secret. You can drive right past Rahway. Newark, Elizabeth, Linden, Rahway on the train, on the New Jersey Transit. That's my humble hometown. Nobody asked me, nobody sent me a chodejan. Nobody sent me an invitation saying, would you like to be born in Rahway? Would you like to be born in Jersey? I never got an invitation to be born in Rahway or New Jersey. Just one day, I popped out into this world, and ever since that day, I have been worried about health and academic grades and social standing and the approval of others. We worry about money and taxes and health, friendships, losing loved ones. We worry about politics, social issues. We worry about food. We worry about our appearance, our possessions, our friends, our family. We worry about this whole world. So that doesn't sound like a very interesting thing to be brought into without an invitation. My parents were very, very, very nice, beautiful people, but they never told me that I was going to be brought into this. I popped out into this world, now I must deal with these things all the time. Until my last minute, my last moment on this planet. Very few of us can live on this planet without having those worries. So to worry, to fear, to be anxious are actually natural to our condition. When we eat food, I just had a very good meal downstairs. 공양주 보스님 굉장히 맛있게 해주셨어요. 이만큼 맛있는 된장찌개 제가 몇 년 만에 처음 먹었어요. 진짜 사찰 음식 그대로, 사찰 맛 그대로. I feel very good after that meal. But that feeling only lasts a short time. In fact, we have to work in order to get, we have to make an effort in order to get satisfied with food. Cooking it, buying it, preparing it, cleaning up from it. And that satisfaction does not last long. Actually, it is more natural to be hungry and to feel the suffering of hunger. It is more natural to feel that than it is to feel satisfied. We have to work very, very, very hard to get a rest in our bed, or to get a vacation, or to get a day off. But it is much more natural to suffer the days and days and days of work and struggle than it is to feel rest. Pleasure lasts a very, very short time compared to pain. That is just the human condition. No, that is the living condition. Animals are the same. We go outside and we see these cute little squirrels. Gina went to Harvard. I went to the divinity school. She went to Harvard College. I remember the Japanese tourists would come to the campus and they would take pictures of the squirrels, the Harvard squirrels on Harvard Yard. They're squirrels like any other squirrels, but the Japanese tourists always wanted pictures of the Harvard squirrels on Harvard Yard. We used to think it was very, very funny. Be running around trying to take a picture of the squirrels. But these squirrels are not happy. They look cute. They're eating. That's not happy eating. That's not happy. Bird is the same. Constant state of fear and anxiety is its natural condition. You don't see birds and squirrels taking a day off. Maybe your cat seems like it's on a constant vacation, but that's not its natural state of being. Fish don't, birds don't, animals out in the wild don't. The same with us. So the Buddha was someone who came to this world not to produce a religion, not to say believe in me, not to say only I have the way. The Buddha didn't come here to create a belief system. He was merely someone who saw the condition of this world, who saw the natural stasis of our existence in this world, and saw that, he said, all existence is, he used the Sanskrit word, all existence is dukkha. All existence is dukkha. That was his first insight. All existence is dukkha. And dukkha means, it's sometimes wrongly translated as suffering. He didn't say that. He did not say that. The Buddha said all existence is dukkha. And dukkha means unsatisfactory. Yes. Unsatisfactory. Bulmanjoksoro. All existence is dukkha. All existence is changing. So even when you get something, already you are losing it. Or if you want to avoid something you don't like, that's also suffering. So the Buddha saw all existence is dukkha. All existence is unsatisfactory because all existence is changing. It doesn't stay in one place. Satisfactions do not stay in one place continuously. Also, avoiding suffering does not stay in one place continuously. It's constantly changing. And if we attach to that appearance, if we attach to that changing condition, we suffer. That's all.
So what was really interesting about him is if you stop there, if you stop at that analysis, it's a very depressing possibility that all existence is unsatisfactory. All conditions, things we see through the eyes, things we hear through the ears, things we hear through the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind. Today is May 18th. May 18th, 108 years ago, 108년 전에, is the death of one of my great teachers, actually, Gustav Mahler, the Austrian, Bohemian, Jewish. He had no country, no state. Composer Gustav Mahler. And Gustav Mahler's music used to completely, how can I say it? Excite me. Still does. Impossibly. And when I was a student in school, in university, listening to the music of Mahler, I would become totally elevated to this very visionary sense of the world, just from listening to the symphonies of Gustav Mahler. Still do. They make me shake, actually. They make me profoundly disturbed and ecstatic to the point of tears. Actually, tomorrow after the Boppe here, I'm running to Lincoln Center to hear a concert of his music, the Fifth Symphony. I would listen to this music, or Beethoven, a great piece of art, and I would feel greatly elevated. Take Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, for example. But then after the symphony, I would feel, for minutes, even for hours, I would feel elevated. But then, when that disappeared from my consciousness, return to this mundane life. And I would feel depressed again. So the Buddha's analysis was that all existence is dukkha. All existence is unsatisfactory. Even as delicious as this doenjang jjigae was that I ate today, soon I will be hungry again. Maybe when I go back to Bulgwang Sonwon a little tomorrow, I will miss this doenjang jjigae. I will get a new kind of suffering. So as we see, the Buddha's analysis was that contained in every joy, contained in any kind of experience of sensual gratification, is the ending of that sensual gratification, or missing it when we can't have it anymore. So that was the beginning of the Buddha's analysis. The Buddha analyzed that that is our most natural condition, actually. Just like the animals, same. But then, he didn't stop there. The Buddha did not stop there with that analysis. If he did, that would be just 100% depressing. The Buddha then said, there is a reason for this. Okay, there is a reason. Yeah, the Buddha was a great doctor. He's often called the great doctor in his teachings, because he didn't just, a great doctor doesn't just tell you, you have cancer. You have 6 months to live. Sorry, bye. Next. That's a kind of okay doctor, if they can see that. But a great doctor says, and here is the cause. Here is the cause of it. And here is what you can do to be free from this cancer, to be healthy again. So, we all know that the Buddha's diagnosis is complete. It wasn't a religion. It was not a religious diagnosis the Buddha gave. He gave a deeply analytical, profoundly concrete diagnosis. Yeah? Not that we suffer because of gods, not that we suffer because of a history, not that we suffer because of some thing that happened in ancient time and that's causing us to suffer now, like eating an apple. someone eating an apple. This used to be a church, yeah? This used to be a church. The Buddha's analysis was not some simplistic view that someone ate a piece of fruit, therefore we suffer. Because that doesn't make sense. It doesn't really hold water, especially to our modern analytic minds. The Buddha said, actually, our suffering, our daily experience of suffering is real, but then he said, it comes from some place. Yeah, not a place. It comes from somewhere. It comes from something. We can be free of it. We are not condemned to experience it. We have a choice. See, that's why we do this. You see, maybe when we came in, that's why we bow when we come into the temple the first time. That's why we bow to the Buddha 3 times. We're not bowing to a god. We're not bowing to some deity. No way. We don't bow to some being that is other than us. We bow to the fact. We're bowing to a fact. We're bowing to the fact that someone discovered, we can do some things, some practical things, to liberate ourselves from this suffering condition. And you don't have to be Buddhist to do it. You don't have to belong to some identity to get that practical help. You can liberate yourself from this condition. That's what we bow to. See, dogs can't do that. Anyone who sees someone leading a dog down the street by a leash, or go to a coffee shop and the leash is tied up outside and the dog is trapped there. Dog can't get out of it. Sometimes you see on Facebook, you see a smart cow that learns how to open the gate. Very simple. But not many cows have that easy. It's roped up. They can't figure this very simple thing that we go, oh yeah, you just open it like this. Cow can't do that. Take the rope off. So as you see a dog and it's tied up to a post, and the dog, by walking around, is making the line, the leash, is making the leash more and more tangled, and it's getting more and more caught in its leash. Dog can't get out of that itself. Even you leave it for 100 years, it probably won't get out of that. So we have a way, this is really fascinating, we have a way, in fact several ways to be honest, to liberate ourselves from the leash. We're the only animal that can do that. We're the only animal that can do that. So that's what the Buddha's message was. It was a very, very clear and strong and total diagnosis. And all of the advances in psychotherapy, analysis of mind, even brain scans, prove that what the Buddha was talking about was true, in fact. The Buddha said we make patterns because if we hold our thinking again and again, certain reactive behavior, certain habits of mind, certain emotions, if we hold them, they just repeat. They just repeat. Just like that dog that gets itself more and more tangled in the line. The Buddha said, if you repeat those things over and over and over again, if you repeat those things that trap you, they will stay. Now we have brain scans of people whose repetitive behavior creates certain structures in the brain that are evidence of a repetitious behavior that they cannot get out of in some way. It's called neuroplasticity. As you repeat, so you make. My teacher used to say, the Buddha's teaching is, mind makes the body, and then the body makes the mind. Mind makes the body, body makes the mind. Mind makes the body, body makes the mind. Around and around and around and around and around. So the Buddha was really interesting because he said, that's the situation. That's the way it is. But there is this way out of it. And that is looking inside. What is my true self? What am I? Okay? So that's what Buddhism is about. It's not something you believe in. I just had a cup of coffee today, double espresso. I drink the coffee from the cup, but I don't study the cup. The cup is just a tool to bring the coffee from here to here to here. Clear. That's all. Same with glasses. Same with our phone, our smartphone. So Buddhism means looking into my true nature. What am I? So this is my sort of American, this is my New Jersey I. My New Jersey I. My American body. Yeah, I have a name that my parents gave me in Rahway. Rahway. I always thought that was a weird name, Rahway. When I was a kid, 1964. That's my body's name, Paul. I got that name because actually they were going to name me Angelo, which is strange because we don't have any Italian blood in our family. But when I was in my mother's belly, the Pope, at that time, my mother's very Catholic, beautiful, almost a saint. At that time, the Pope was Pope John the 23rd. His lay name was Angelo Roncalli. So, the Pope. Let's name him after the Pope. Angelo Roncalli. Fortunately, Pope John the 23rd died just before I was born. Then the new guy, the new Pope came in, and he was Pope Paul. So I got that name. So that's my body's name. Yeah? Before I had that name, I had no name. I had no name. Then I met this Korean Zen master. He gave me the name Hyungak. Hyungak. When I first got this name, I went, Hyungak, what does that mean? It sounds so strange to me. Kid from New Jersey, Hyungak. What's that? And he said, and I asked someone, they looked it up. It was the first time he used the Hyunja. He gave many, many Dharma names, but it was the first time he used Hyunja, my teacher, for all of his teaching. I said, what does Hyun mean? And he said, black. I said, okay, cool, black, that's cool. What does Gak mean? Enlightenment. Black. Enlightenment? What's that all about? Black enlightenment. It sounded so strange. Also, there's a hyun. He said, yeah. He said, it's like the night sky. He said, the night sky, when there's no clouds, is black. But he said, it's not lack of light. He said, it's not even a color, black, like blue or green or red. He said, it just means infinitely deep. The night sky is infinitely deep, endlessly profound, so it appears to our eye as black. But that's not a color. It means a depth. That's this 현자, 의미, mysterious. 거물 현자. So endlessly profound. 거물 현자 is endlessly profound, and then gak is enlightened. Endlessly profound, enlightened. So I was almost named Angelo. I got the name Paul in Jersey. And then my teacher gave me this name, Black Enlightenment. So those names are not my true I. They're just names. This building used to be called Church. Now it's called Temple. I'm sure the original inhabitants would be very shocked to know that. Maybe in the future it will be called restaurant, who knows? Name and form, around and around and around and around. Changing, non-stop. So those are not the true meaning of this world. So the Buddha said, this changing world, changing, is not real. This is not a real reality. It's temporary appearance. Yeah, out here, what's this river? I'm from New Jersey, I don't know this river. This big river. Passaic River? That's the Passaic River? Okay. I think that goes into the Rahway River, because we have the Rahway River. Someone can Google that later and let me know. Rahway River, we had a river in Rahway. All these memories of New Jersey are coming. I haven't been here, I haven't been to my hometown in 35 years, 40 years maybe. 35 years. Here you go out to the Passaic River right out here, yeah? You put your foot into the river at 8 o'clock in the morning. Put your foot in the river, your finger, your foot in the, you say Passaic River. 8 o'clock in the morning. Put your foot in the Passaic River. Then go away. Go to the Starbucks or someplace, have a coffee. Come back and put your foot or your finger again 2 hours later in the Passaic River. That's a different river now. That water is somewhere else. That's not the same Passaic River. It's not the same thing. It is actually not the same river. The Passaic River you touched is gone. The same as everything in this world. Yeah, very interesting. Before Jinnah gave during the announcement, she said, I was born in 1964. Actually, this thing was not here in 1964. According to science, yeah. We have Jinnah, the expert here. She's a human evolutionary biology. Great subject. Our cells, all of our cells, every cell in our body is changed, is replaced in a total of every 7 years, yeah? Every 7 years, this is a different body. So I was born in 1964, that means I'm already 54, not yet 55, in November, late November. That's 7 times this body has been changed. So this object that is sitting here was not born in New Jersey. But I say, I'm from New Jersey. So every day I say that, I'm lying to you. From a scientific point of view. Also, Jinnah was lying to you.
Sorry.
착하게 보이지만은 거짓말쟁이야. 앞으로 믿지 마. But that is science. That is a scientific truth. And the Buddha said the same thing. This is not our true I. This is a temporary appearance. The same thing as that Passaic River. That is not the same river as when they gave it that. It is completely not the same river. Absolutely not the same. Your body, your clothing, this building, your country. Yeah, some people, maybe a few people in this room come from Korea. Now it's called Daehanmingu. Some before was Chosun. Before that it was called Koryo. Then Goguryeo. Name and form, changing. Maybe in the future it'll be called Tongil Hanguk. Who knows? Name and form, changing. That is not the true reality of this world. So the Buddha was amazing because he said, all of this is just appearance. It is like the appearance in a dream. When you are experiencing the dream, you believe the dream is real. Yeah, some wild tiger or bad man. It's always a bad man, never a bad woman. Do you ever notice that in dreams? Bad man is trying to kill you. It's never a bad woman. I wish my dream state would have a bad woman trying to, or a bad anything. Bad twins or something. It's always a bad man. Men, we have this specialty at being bad. In a dream, a bad man is coming to get you, to hurt you, to do something bad. And you're running in the dream and suffering, panicking. Because your body, your upper body is moving. Gotta get up, I have to get away. But your lower body is moving very slow. And you're panicking. And you wake up. This is my bed. This is my clock. This is my pillow. That was just a dream. In that moment, that dream cannot control you anymore. But while you are experiencing it, while you are believing the dream is real. The dream controls you. The dream is your everything and makes your reality. Even making physical changes in your body. Your heart rate, your breathing, your perspiration rate, all increase. Maybe you hit your partner, your wife or your husband or your girlfriend or your boyfriend in bed. Because you believe it's real. So the Buddha said, this whole life is like a dream. The Buddha said, this whole life is like a dream. Maybe some of us in this room are having a kind of a good dream. Life is okay, right? It's not Yemen. We're not a migrant in the boat trying to cross from Libya to Lampedusa in Italy. Life's okay. We're in Jersey. Yeah, it could be better. It could be Marin County, California. There's a Starbucks, there's Whole Foods, Trader Vic's, Trader Joe's. Yeah, you can order food, come home. Netflix. Life's good. Life's okay for us, but not for a lot of people. So the Buddha said, this life, if you believe these appearances, if you just are tied to this world of false appearance, you are like someone, you are living in an actual dream, a dream. You are living in a dream. It is said when the Buddha got, the Buddha was just a regular prince. He was a young guy. He was a young prince. We could say in today's way of speaking, he was a very sensitive boy, maybe. If we want to not psychoanalyze, if we just want to speak frankly, he was a sensitive person with a deep question about the nature of the world. Why is there suffering? Why is there war? Yeah. He would look at what's happening in Yemen, or the situation with migrants, or the situation with war in the Middle East, kids blown up by bombs dropped by intelligent, rich countries. And he said, what is this? What is this life? What is this death? So he was very gripped. The Buddha was just a young prince. He was a young kid from a good family, from a really good family, who had this really deep question. Why do we live? Why do we die? That's what his life was. He had this question. He was not a god. He was just like us. Exactly like us. And he knew, one day I will die. One day I will lose everything. One day all of this disappears. Then what? And meanwhile, if you've gone to India, bodies being cremated on the street, life and death were right in front of the nose. They didn't hide it away like we do now. So he had this question, why do I live? Why do I die? Why? Why? He just had that question, that's all. Very simple. You could say he was kind of like, well, this is not a perfect example, but you could say he was like this Greta Thunberg kind of person. Greta Thunberg, school strike for the climate. You know Greta Thunberg? No? 몰라? 집에서 인터넷 없어? Greta Thunberg is this young Swedish girl. She's how old? 14 years old, student in Sweden, just a regular student. And she took a class about we don't call it climate change anymore, the climate crisis is the correct vocabulary now. And she took this course and she realized we're screwed. And it looks like no one is doing anything and this is the new normal. So she stopped going to school on Fridays and she sat in the cold. Sweden is a cold country most of the year, much of the year. And she sat outside the Swedish parliament. And I just read today, yesterday I was reading the Time magazine article about her, that she said she found out the situation with the climate, she found out the catastrophe that is coming, that's already here, and she said she fell into a depression so deep, she said, I have no future, so why study? For what? She's kind of spectrum autistic Asperger's, so she's very deeply sensitive about things that you or I might not feel as deeply. And she got so sad that this depression lasted for a month or two, and then finally she came out and she just sat in front of the parliament with a sign that said, "School strike for the climate." And she just went on strike. And people started following, people are following her, and now there's this worldwide movement for students striking for the climate. So you could say the Buddha was someone like Greta Thunberg. Before his enlightenment. A sensitive person, deeply struck by the question, the fact of the unavoidability of human suffering. That's all. That's all he was. So don't let the gold fool you. At that time, this is pre-enlightenment. You have that question? You looked at it. You tried various things to solve it. The yogic study, the yogic sutras, scriptures, that didn't work. And then he did some intense practices. Kind of worked, but it didn't really work. And then he sat under a tree, and you know the story. He was sitting under a tree for some time. There's other elements in the story, but after some weeks of intensive looking, one morning, just looking up at the sky, maybe brushing the hair off of his face. And he was in India, it was very hot. Brushing the long hair off of his head, putting it up like this, and he just saw a normal star, like any other star, and then he got enlightened. He attained that his nature and the nature of the star, a normal star, nothing special, nothing like Bethlehem style. He just got it, that his nature and the star nature are the same fundamental substance. They are the same bonjil, same shiche. He got that his nature and the nature of the star and the nature of the whole universe are the same fundamental nature, the same substance. And he got this insight. Then according to the story, he got up from his position under the tree, sitting under the tree, because it's hot in India. They didn't have air conditioner or fans. So you sit under a tree because it's shady, a little cooler. And he got up and he was walking down the hill into town. And he was walking down a path. In India, there are people with cows quite often plowing fields. And some farmer coming in the opposite direction saw this young man with this long hair, but shining, with this shining energy, this young man with this totally shining aura. And this man fell down in front of his feet, looking at this young man and said, "Who are you? What God are you?" You know, in India, if you read the stories, Krishna, Vishnu, all these gods walked among the people, like the Greek gods and goddesses. Sometimes Zeus, sometimes Athena would appear as a deer or as a person. So in India, they had these visions. Yeah, hot country like Greece. India, Greece, hot country. So something a little. Hwangak. So he fell on the ground in front of this person. He said, "What God are you? And how can I worship you?" And the young man said, "I am not a god, and you don't need to worship me." And then the farmer said, "Well then what kind of demigod are you? And what God do you serve? I want to serve this God too." And the young man said, "I am not a demigod, and I serve no God." And then the man said, "Well then, what kind of spiritual master are you? And what teachings do you have? I want to follow them." And the young man said, "I am not a spiritual master, and I don't have any teachings for you to learn." And then the farmer said, "Well then, well, what kind of master are you, and what is your school, that I might," they had yoga schools, not like a building, but a school of people. "And what is your group?" He said, "I am not a master, and I don't have a particular school of teachings." And then the man said, "Well then, are you a teacher?" And the young man said, "No, I'm not a teacher." And then the farmer said, "Well then, are you a man?" And the young man said, "No, I'm not a man. I'm not a man." And then the farmer was really confused now. He thought, maybe, this kind of, we'd say now trans or something, or kind of, intersex. There was that, Indian culture celebrates or acknowledges that possibility in the human physical realm. said, well, if you're not a man, then are you human? Even? And the young man said, no, I'm not human. Definitely not. And the farmer is completely confused. And he said, well, then if you're not human, what are you? Please, what are you? And the young man said, I am awake. I woke up. That's what I am. I am awake. I am this waking. I am awake. That's really powerful. So the word in Sanskrit for wake up, wake, is bud. Bud. It's a word which means waking up. So that's what Buddha means. It means the one that woke up. That's all. The one that woke up. Woke up to his nature right now, not in the future. Not through prayer or asking for it from a god. Definitely not that. But from making the effort himself and realizing it already present in himself. Right then. So actually other religions talk about this too. Christianity talks, Jesus, not Christianity, Jesus talks about it. Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is within. He talks about that. Jesus does talk about that. The kingdom of heaven is within. So it's there. Jesus had that same view, the same view, the same view. But just knowing that as a thought is not enough. Oh, I am Buddha. That's enough. Oh, I'm Buddha. I'm already Buddha. That's not enough. We have to practice. The beauty about this tradition is, by practicing, it is revealed to you. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. In our Zen center in Regensburg, 40, 50 people have already been enlightened. Someone will think that's shocking. I think it's shocking that people don't actually experience that. 40, 50. Not Huachjal Deo, but definitely Kansong. Definitely seeing their nature. No doubt about it. Young too. Young too. Some of them. Doesn't matter. Age, no difference. It's possible. Very possible. My teacher used to say, getting enlightenment, very easy. Keeping enlightenment, very difficult. It's not hard. Actually. Keeping it in everyday life, that's a challenge. That's hard. Even for me. But having that taste, not difficult. It's not a long effort. Now, some people maybe a little longer. Everyone's psychology a little different. Everyone's karma is thick or thin, depending upon that. But the mechanism is not rocket science. The Buddha already made it very clear for us. Very clear. The way to get there is very clear. But if you don't make the effort, even those words are not helpful. So it's a very clear technology. So Buddhist teaching is not a religion. It's not a belief system. It's not a philosophy. It's not a dogma. It's not a creed. It's not something you get through understanding. is something you attain through a little bit of effort, some effort, and correct teaching, pointing. So just do it. There's no problem with how to get there. The Buddha made it very clear. That's why we bow. That's why I bow. That's why I bow 3 times. Every time I come into a temple, bow, it's always some living creature living like that woke up to itself. How many people on the PATH train going into, what, World Trade Center now, was it called? Just like that. Walking on the street, New York City. But one person in the middle of that popped up, saw himself. That's why we bow. In the middle of all of that living material, some creature waking up to itself, getting free like the dog. Imagine if you saw one dog of all the dogs you ever saw tied up outside of a Starbucks on a leash. If you walked by, if you were sitting there having a coffee and you saw the dog suddenly go, and take off, you would bow to that dog. You would at least take an Instagram picture, I think, which is like bowing to it nowadays. You would bow to that dog. So that is why we bow to Buddha, bowing to the possibility in ourself that we can do that too. Not bowing to some 2,500-year-old possibility, but I bow to the possibility in myself that I can wake up to that through my effort, if I make the effort. So that's the end of my kind of one direction Dharma talk. That's not so interesting. What's really interesting in spiritual work together is having a dialogue. And Jesus taught like that, and Socrates taught like that. Great masters taught like that. My teacher taught like that. So I would like to offer the opportunity, if anyone has any questions about practice, or Buddhism, or meditation, or Buddha, I would like to offer the opportunity to you to do that. So if anyone has any questions, you raise your hand, and in English or Korean, I prefer English right today, but we'll try our best in any mode or with a microphone or without. Oh, we have a microphone. Do you have any questions? Otherwise, we all go home early. Yes.